I am sending you all a copy of the letter from the city. So I know our original intention was to have some sort of starter ordinance to work off of today, but we have sort of a big list of, not big list, but some big questions that we need to address before we can do that. So I have two documents that we need to look at. So we received this letter from the Safety Service Director, Mr. Powers, regarding the proposed food truck ordinance, with 5 questions that the city would like answered within the ordinance. The biggest one that I thought that we were probably not suited to answer is define a mobile food truck. So the Cincinnati Food Truck Association sent over what they use in their bylaws to define a food truck under their membership requirements. So I will read to you what they use.
It's also defined by the state.
Yes. But I thought this might be helpful.
Yeah.
For our purposes. So essentially their standards of what qualifies a food truck is that it is a mobile unit with 2 axles, which I think is an important clarification.
So not a cart, basically.
Not a cart.
Yeah.
It has to have 2 axles. It has to be, which a trailer or truck would have.
So a trailer and a truck?
As long as it was a 4-wheel trailer. If it's
So
a 2-wheel.
AJ's Cheesesteaks first food truck wouldn't count.
I don't know anything about AJ's.
It's just a small trailer with 1 axle. It has to be pulled by a truck.
Oh, no, trailers would totally count by itself, like
Okay.
without a truck on it.
Okay.
It basically differentiates from a cart that has to be like held up in some way.
Right.
Yeah, his original truck had 4 wheels.
Yeah.
Can you shoot it over to us?
Yes.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You're fine. That it is completely self-sufficient, contained within roof walls, and all commercial cooking equipment within the confines of that unit. So there could not be an external grill or an external standalone cooking equipment outside of the food truck.
Isn't that what the barbecue place has?
He does have a grill outside.
The smoker.
Could the food truck operate with the smoker inside?
No.
Then maybe the truck would be included in this, but the smoker would not.
That's something to ask about.
Having an outside cooking appliance seems like it would require its own. I don't feel that we could write this legislation and it could also encompass someone just having like a standalone grill or smoker.
There is
in
a separate
public.
license to prepare food. Julie Peter from Indian Mound was not upset, but talking about the fee to do like what they do at Taste of Cincinnati, where you can cook underneath a tent, and that's a whole separate
Sure.
thing. So when they get their kitchen inspected and cleared, it's everything that's inside the unit.
Right.
So-
So I wonder what legislation is overseeing just like a standalone grill or
Yeah.
smoker outside.
Or what if the grill or the cooking thing has to be connected to the food truck? Because I feel like, and I don't think this is in Norwood, but I've certainly been to places where the primary cooking is done inside, but maybe outside they do like cooking corn. I've got a vision of something being cooked outside, but is in connection with that truck. It's not just the,
Well, there was a
Separate
pizza truck that had like a grill attached, like a
They have
brick
those,
oven.
like a brick
Brick
oven,
oven.
but the entrance and exit for that brick oven are inside of the food truck, and the brick oven is permanently mounted and covered and floored, attached to the food truck. It is not, it can't be removed.
okay.
And the opening is inside the food truck.
Clearly, we're gonna be making lots of tweaks to this as we
Yeah.
figure out all the ins and outs.
Yeah, I would think that there would be, when I think about like other legislation surrounding like grills and smokers and like outdoor cooking equipment.
Yeah.
It would be hard for us to encompass that within here, because depending on what the location of the setup is, are they underneath of a wood patio? Are they near a vehicle? Like there's, having a standalone outside heat source could be a potential safety hazard in a way that having the cooking equipment inside of the food truck would not be. I'll have to ask about that.
So I'm looking at under the membership requirements for the Food Truck Association, and it says, a food truck is a single or double axle license plated vehicle that is completely mobile with no permanent fixed location, the vendor of which prepared food from a inspected commissary as well as on board your vehicle to serve or distribute to customers in a form suitable for immediate consumption. Okay, so would that be enough of a definition for the city, or are they wanting, for example, it says completely mobile. I know one of the issues now is the thing about moving every 40 days to sort of prove its mobility. This doesn't require proof of mobility. Is that something that we need?
The state defines it as a vehicle that does or can relocate or move.
Yeah, so it's already covered by the state, basically. And I'm just like thinking about smokers and stuff. I mean, barbecue restaurants, their smokers are outside. So, what do we
Sure,
think?
but those are on their property.
True.
So those are probably, they've been, I mean, the health inspector is gonna inspect those cooking surfaces, whether they're indoors or outdoor, and make sure that they're not near any fire hazards, et cetera. And anytime that I can think of where you would be at an event where a food vendor would set up something like a grill or smoker or fryer outside of a truck, they would have to be health inspected.
Sir, I forget your name. Bernardo?
Bernardo?
Do you know of any information about having a cooker outside of your truck or trailer?
No, I haven't looked into that. Yeah, like the last time when to change the inspection, he told me, but I never even used it nothing on the side.
Okay.
Okay.
That's why he said, oh, it's okay, so you not cook it on the side? Fine. That's right.
Yeah.
So I think for the city's purposes, I feel like this definition would work.
Yeah, I think so.
Can you read that to me and I'll type it out? I'm gonna make some notes.
Mobile food truck means a single or double axle license plated vehicle that is completely mobile with no permanent fixed location. The vendor of which prepared food from a, this says state/city/county inspected commissary, as well as on board your vehicle to serve or distribute to customers in a form suitable for immediate consumption.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're all comfortable with that being the answer to defining a food truck. Okay, our second question is, where may mobile food trucks locate? With follow-up questions being if on private property, in which zones, and shall any other location restrictions apply? And then if in the public right-of-way, under what conditions?
I think, obviously, anywhere that's a business or commercial district.
Yeah, I think anywhere that a restaurant could be, food truck can be.
So in any commercially zoned area?
Yeah, commercially zoned area,
Neighborhood business district.
neighborhood business district. I'm trying to think of the other, like C1, C2, C3. That encompasses pretty much everywhere, like gas stations, things that, where food trucks are typically located.
And then on private property or in residential areas upon invitation?
Yeah. And then I think in public right-of-way, that would probably be just like, I can only stay there for less than 24 hours, or did we talk about that?
Wait, I'm sorry. Invitation, does that need to be a homeowner? Invitation of the owner or business?
I wonder if we also need to include tenant, because if a business is renting the property that they're operating on, but they want to invite, or if a tenant of an apartment or someone who's renting a home is having a party and they want to invite a food truck.
What if it's, just because I'm gonna go there, what if it's an Airbnb?
Oh.
And right now, those are in flux.
Should we say long-term tenant?
Yeah. Because, I mean,
The resident.
I feel like
Resident.
like a resident or a tenant.
Yeah, I think a
Is
resident.
different than,
Yeah, resident feels better.
Yeah.
We can say,
Wrong.
that way we don't need to clarify owner or tenant. But I don't think an
but would an
is a
Airbnb
resident.
renter be considered a resident?
I don't think so.
I think a resident means like that you consider somewhere, this is your permanent address, permanent meaning like you're a month-to-month renter or you've got a contract.
I'm just
For
wondering
your-
if legally if that's the case.
I don't know.
We could maybe clarify in the ordinance does not extend to short-term rentals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that works for me. Sorry, Emily, so the public right-of-way was, you had a question, you were making a comment about the public
Oh,
right-of-way.
I was gonna say, so typically for public right of way, if it's on the street, I think there's some rule where they can only be there for X number of
I
hours
think it
or,
was 4 hours.
4 hours, yes.
I think we,
yeah, we talked about that.
so we need to specify if parked on street, maximum
Yeah.
time limit of 4 hours. What is that based
Let's
off?
just think for just a sec, 4 hours, so if there is an event,
Or how about cannot be parked overnight
In public right of ways.
in public right of way? Because then that would encompass like if you have a festival from like 4 to 9,
yeah, I'm just thinking 4 hours might not
Or
be enough
12 to
to
7.
get there, set
Yeah.
up.
but it seems like overnight, you're not
Yeah.
gonna be staying there beyond.
Mr. Bernardo, does your truck move to do events? How long do you need to go set up?
24 hours.
24 hours?
That's what I told them to the inspection.
Oh,
He said, yeah, that's 24 hours, so roughly 28 hours today. But because it's only 24 hours, it's good.
Okay.
So do we want to say overnight, or do we want to say for a maximum of 24 hours? Or are we feeling more comfortable with 12 hours?
For how long they can be there?
Yes, parked in a public right-of-way.
I mean, 24 hours seems reasonable. If that's what other places have done, then I'd be fine with that. But basically, like, you get there at 9, maybe you are there all day. I mean, this would be a really weird edge case, but like, and then you pack up and come back at 9 because you're exhausted at the end of the day or whatever.
I'm just wondering in terms of, when it comes to enforcing for the police, that might be, remember we were talking about the dog barking, like, or how long the dog's outside, that's a hard thing
Yeah.
for them. When does 24 hours start? You know, the police aren't gonna know that they got there at 8 AM. So that's why I'm wondering if the overnight might be better. So then if it's
What time does night,
that,
Yeah.
it is overnight.
yeah, does overnight start at midnight if you have an event that goes until 11 PM? Does overnight start
If you're
at-
parked outside of a bar,
When it
does
gets
overnight
dark.
start when the
Yeah.
bar's in? I think 24 hours kind of allows for that, so you don't have to worry about what is overnight. And realistically, if they're more than a day, either something's gone wrong or,
I'm just thinking it would be worth asking Chief Sumner in terms of,
I'm thinking that enforcement on this is going to be primarily complaint-based.
Yeah.
I think it would
Also
be
true.
report-based. I
Yeah.
think that on a private street that's residential, the only time that I could foresee this becoming an issue is if a neighbor says, hey, there's been a food
There's
truck
a
parked here
problem.
for a week.
yeah.
yeah.
So what if we move on past the exact wording of this and then ask chief or the law department for their suggested,
Verbiage,
yeah, on the, and I think maybe we could decide, do
what we want it to look like, and
Yeah.
they tell us if it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get into philosophical questions like, what is night?
Yeah.
Is it
So
day?
we're okay with, in theory, with 24 hours?
No, I'm
Yeah.
fine with it, and I think, yeah, it'll be complaint based, just like if there's a parked car.
Yeah.
It's not like the police is going and marking every car, every 24 hours or whatever.
And then the next question, we've kind of already talked about, may cooking occur outside of the vehicle in an outdoor environment? I am of the mentality that all cooking should happen inside of the vehicle.
then
Because I
we
think it-
couldn't have the smoker then.
I think in any other condition where a food truck is operating that I am familiar with, they would have to be health inspected if they had an outdoor cooking setup. Or they would be
Wouldn't it-
smoking in a commissary kitchen somewhere.
Well, wouldn't it have to be inspected anyway?
Every time a vendor sets up an outdoor, unless they have a permit like a food cart, which we have not even touched that, but like in the state of Cincinnati, like hot dog carts are their own thing. But if like a food truck wants to set up at Taste of Cincinnati and they want to set up an outdoor cooking setup outside of their truck, that setup has to be inspected for that event. I worry about because you can't control the conditions outside the way that you can inside of your truck. You can't control sanitation outside because of the environment, you know what I mean? Like you can't control,
I'm just curious because there's a handful of the barbecue where they smoke outside.
sure.
Um,
And they very well like may have been, and my concern is not necessarily like that, I wanna make sure that that vendor and that food truck owner is taken care of, absolutely.
right.
But my concern is like in general, if we include that, sure, you can have outside cooking setups, are we going to have trucks
Is that
who
a
want to
slippery
do
slope?
like, yeah, what are we signing off on?
I'm trying to look up like specifically barbecue, like food truck regulations, and I'm just getting a bunch of AI
Oh, fun.
generated crap, so that's annoying.
Maybe we need to speak to the barbecue truck owner and see what,
I was just trying to get his number.
there you go,
Yeah, that'd be
what
good.
he has in place for that. Maybe he's had to have that set up there be health inspected.
Well, the Ohio Department of Health says outdoor cooking in a food service operation. So, but this might be. So that's all. The complexity, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, this is like creating an outdoor kitchen.
Yeah, because then
Yeah.
you have to have like hand washing.
Right.
But
And
all
like there
that
is
would
fire
be-
suppression inside of a food truck, but if a fire starts on a smoker outside of a food truck, the fire suppression you have in place is doing nothing for you.
Right, right.
Outside.
But you would have hand washing inside.
Inside.
You would have food storage inside. So a lot of the things that you'd be required to do Okay,
Yeah, something to think
we gotta
about.
figure that one out.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to Google something and it's just not giving me anything useful, unfortunately.
Am I allowed to step out and call Corey and then report back?
Sure.
Sure.
Okay, I just got his cell phone number.
We could be like the Geico commercial, put him on speakerphone.
Okay, let's look at our next question while we sit on that.
Primary parcel or only an accessory use?
So I think that it should be the primary use. I think that meaning, can this truck sometimes operate as one thing, sometimes operate as another thing, sometimes operate as a food service? I would say that it needs to be the primary use.
Oh, that's not how I read that.
How did you read that?
I thought it's saying may be a primary use of a private parcel, so that the land is the food. If I own a piece of property on Montgomery Road, that I can have it be, my food truck is permanently parked there, and the only thing there is my food truck. As opposed to, I have an ice cream shop,
And I want to have.
and I
a-
wanna,
I think that's what he is
Okay,
intending
that
with
makes more sense.
So he's asking like, if, we have like just a blank lot, can I just park a food truck there and that's
As long
okay?
as the food truck is mobile and the owner of the lot is consenting, I don't see why not.
I agree. So, yeah, primary use,
So according to Corey, he is certified and licensed to have his unit right outside of his vehicle from the state or county, whoever gave him his permit. I'm gonna go over on Wednesday and talk to him in person and just, maybe if we can get some information about what needs to be in the wording, and I can see what make sure he's taken care of.
Yeah, because he's the only truck we have in Norwood that currently applies to, and I don't want to like steamroll him out
Right.
of being able to cook his food the way he's been cooking his food.
Yeah.
But I also want to make sure that we aren't signing off on just like
people have, setting up random grills.
people doing open flame cooking in an unprotected
Right.
area, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I do see that the state says certain things about it. They need to be in a secured area where there's no unauthorized access. Theirs is a little bit,
He has gates or fence
yeah,
post
Yeah.
things around, but that's why.
I think that's probably why.
I am sure that it is.
because this is also under the outside food, under Ohio Department of Health. It said overhead protection, including a tent, Therefore, a grill / smoker outside or adjacent to, a tent with a covered area or lid may be an alternative. So that could be the food truck.
I will say, if you scroll up on that document, it does say permanent outdoor cooking. Requirements for permanent outdoor cooking is the title of that document.
You may be looking at two different,
Mine said food service operation fact sheet,
Yes, I'm also on that.
outdoor cooking areas.
If you click the fact sheet for FSOs on the side there. Or if you go to the
I'm
very
willing to
bottom.
believe you, I just can't find it. at
Go to
this
the very
moment.
bottom, the page that you're on, go to the very bottom. There's a link that says printable version of outdoor cooking. Click that. That document is titled Requirements for Permanent Outdoor Cooking. So I wonder if that is any different
Set of rules.
for mobile. It very well may not be. I don't know.
There we go. You're right, you have to go for like 15
You do
clicks
have to
in.
go to a lot of clicks to get to the part where it says that.
All right, well, go
Very
down a
important.
different rabbit hole then.
Jeff, the question that we answered while you were gone, which you are more than welcome to disagree on, is may the mobile food truck be a primary use of a private parcel or only an accessory use? I totally misunderstood that question. Assuming that that means if you own a plot of land, can you park a food truck on that plot of land and it be the only thing on the plot of land, or must there be a separate business?
When I called over to the people who owned the hotel before it was torn down, and there was nothing on there except for the hotel, and it wasn't being used. I got their permission, so would I be okay doing that in the future?
Yes, or like if you happened to own an empty plot of land and you wanted to park your food truck on that plot of land,
Yeah.
is that allowed, or must there be something else on that plot of land?
I mean, if you're moving it according to the 40-day thing, I don't
I
see
am of the
why not.
mentality that as long as the truck is mobile,
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't
don't
need to
care
be
if it's
moved.
the primary or accessory
That
use
was
on
our-
a plot of land.
that was our consensus while you were.
If it's
you'd
the
stepped
only
out.
thing on the plot of land and you can move it, then fine,
Yeah.
sure.
There would be other regulations for like parking that the building department would have to go through if it was the only thing like that. So,
It'd be like anything, if you had a very tiny restaurant there, there'd still be.
right,
Or if you parked an RV there.
Yeah.
yeah.
'Cause I guess the last one would be the health and safety.
I would say that the fire department and board of health could do an inspection at any time. But I would say as long as someone is licensed or certified with the state, it is not required for operation, because those things have already happened at a state level. But I would say that we should have the ability to do a fire inspection and health inspection at any time.
Yeah. So kind of like defer to the jurisdiction of the state, but like any,
But
like
if there is
any
a
business,
concern,
you
or,
can be
yes, like a
inspected.
restaurant,
Yeah,
if
like
the health
anything.
inspector wants to come inspect, they certainly can.
Yes.
Bernardo, correct me if I'm wrong, at any point, the health department can ask to inspect your vehicle.
No,
Oh, really?
yeah, a couple months ago, this thing go over, and he told me what to the change, is the close a little bit, in the income, if I took the close anything, he said, I can come back when you finish, come back again, he said, when you finish with close everything.
Okay,
It's only by to this, a little bit by to open.
yeah.
They said, you can close anything, that's good.
But he approached you randomly and said,
Right now, it's no go. But I don't know, I wanted to wait for him, but it's nobody.
yeah,
I don't know.
But they could show up anytime.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Who does the local fire department do the inspection? The Norwood Fire
Yeah, they
Department?
know.
Is that once a year they do that?
Yeah.
And that's pretty standard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that makes sense.
so the other day we went up to Summit Park and there was a city flea, no, the off market.
Yeah,
whatever.
market, yeah.
And there was a fire inspector going around inspecting all of the units that had any kind of cooking or whatever. So if there is something like off Pike here and there's multiple units, would we require that the fire department go give them thumbs up?
Did they have vendors that were selling food product under tents outside of trucks?
Possibly.
So that is usually happening because there are non-licensed outdoor food vendors, like there are restaurants who are setting up a temporary food vendor, and they need an inspection in order to operate, or because the event permit or event insurance required an inspection, which is a separate thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes if you're hosting an event, your insurance will require that any food vendors be fire inspected, or the city or county may require for your event permit to be issued that you have inspections.
Could I approach Norwood Fire and just ask what would they like to see
Sure. Yeah,
in this?
yeah, that'd be
Okay,
great.
I'll take on that.
And I think having in the ordinance just that inspections could be done at any point if there are concerns or reports or just random inspections.
Makes sense.
But that we don't require one in order to have operation with the city of Norwood, as long as you are licensed to operate by
With
the
state.
Mm-hmm.
I think that makes sense.
Okay, so that answers all of our questions. I have those typed up. We will get with Chief Sumner, and Jeff, you will reach out to the fire department. Do you want to just email whatever answers you get?
Yeah, I can send it to this group.
That would be great. And then that should give us enough to get our starter ordinance written up. We just needed those questions answered before we could send that over. And by the next meeting, we will hopefully have the beginnings of an ordinance in place.
Could I bring up one more thing?
Yeah.
One thing that was in the original ordinance was the question about setting up what I would call shore power. So like whenever you go to an RV park or whatever to camp, there's a place to plug in your RV, and that's called shore power.
Okay.
So that would mean that you wouldn't have a generator, or you could have a generator for other purposes, but for
Their
instance.
primary power source would be
Yeah,
from the
and that's
property.
what started this whole thing, was that one of our vendors went and asked the building department, can I put this up? And it became a snowball. I personally would like to see on someone's private property, if the owner says it's okay, the ability for Duke to come out and put a tripod up, so that way you do not have to have a generator. You could plug in, and that way you could be metered, you could pay for your own electricity.
Sure. I think that as long as the property owner agrees to that and it's being done to code, I don't see why we should have any say in how people choose to run there.
The building department thinks differently.
Is there a reason that people would have that done that is not a food truck?
I don't know. I mean, people can do it at their house. Usually you just attach it to your own electricity, so that way you can plug in your RV for storing it over the winter for whatever
Sure.
reason.
But the city doesn't pay for the electricity.
Right, it's
right?
paid for by the
This-
property owner.
And who would pay for the plug? The
But-
property owner?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
if the property owner installs it, it's not like it's a permanent fixture, it's something that by its very nature, you unplug when you're done, replug when you're, it's not like a permanent connection, basically.
Oh,
Right, but
Right,
the
it's-
plug is
It's
permanent.
essentially an
Right.
external outlet.
Yeah, so it's just like a fancy
Outdoor
external
outlet.
outlet, so for me, I don't see why you should care about that.
I don't see why we should have any say in that as long as it's up to code.
Yep,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
so perhaps other people feel differently, but for me, it seems like, you're unplugging and replugging. It's no different than if I have to use an extension cord to plug in
Right.
for my smaller food truck or whatever.
And I don't see how that's any different than me having an outlet added to the outside of my house so I can use my Christmas lights.
Right.
I'd be interested to hear what the other side, the opposing argument.
Do you
Well-
want to take on the task of reaching out to the building department?
I suppose I could.
You don't have to if that is.
We have a
some-
new manager. When I looked into this, I was told, well, they're supposed to be mobile, so that this would make it permanent.
That would not make it permanent.
That doesn't make it
They're not
permanent.
hardwiring their electric into the
Yeah.
property.
If they were hardwiring it into.
Sure, that would be
weird.
something very different. But
But-
having an outlet outside
It's just a big outlet.
is just a big outlet outside.
Yeah.
I wish I had one for my Christmas lights. I do not.
I wish I did too, honestly.
I only have one outlet on the whole outside of my house. It's
It's
awful.
very annoying. It's on the back of my house, so I'd have to run it. That's why I don't have Christmas lights.
It would reduce noise pollution and air pollution.
Yeah.
If we enabled somebody to be able to plug in rather than have to have their own generator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't see how that would be any different than adding an outlet so someone could add a vending machine on the outside of their business.
Yeah, that would be a normal
Or
thing
something like
that
That's a
businesses would
standard
do.
business operation.
Yep.
If you do not have time to reach
I
out
got
to
it.
them. Okay. Okay. Let's set a meeting. Can we do that?
Bernardo, do you have any other questions that would help you do business?
No, I don't have to do that. My business is okay. It's all right.
Any other questions regarding food trucks to make sure that we're covering you?
So,
I think it's safe to say we are very interested in making good legislation that benefits our food truck folks, that's good for the community. So I'm interested to hear people's thoughts if there's a way we could make it better.
Yeah. Especially once we get it written up, if there's any comments that people have.
Yeah, I think having some starter
Yeah.
legislation would help.
Something to work with.
How does October 28th look for everyone? It's a Monday.
Works for me.
6 again?
Sure, if that
me.
works. Jeffrey,
I'm double checking. All right,
that works?
yes, ma'am.
All right, 6 o'clock. Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay, if we don't have anything else, then I think we are adjourned.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Marvelous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.